I'm hungry. May I have some drinks, please? This is not what I meant. Zombies are pretty epic, right? Right? Zombies are relatively basic, just being undead corpses raised to feast upon the living, but there are many depictions of the classic monsters who are genuinely scary. I remember being afraid of zombies when I was younger, especially that one scene in Paranorman when Norman watches a cheesy movie where a zombie is about to eat a woman. Coward. Whether it's the classic horde of zombies or even a sentient living dead warrior, it leaves me to wonder, which zombie is most likely easily able to start an apocalypse? Which zombies is the most skilled in combat? Well, for better or worse, I'll be answering that question today. I'm your host, Beyond a Hero, and welcome to the Zombie Zeitgeist. No, not that kind of zeitgeist. Of course, as usual, before we begin, we must establish some ground rules. What classifies as a zombie? Well, for the sake of having a diverse roster, there are only a few certain aspects in order for a character to be considered a zombie. The main one being that at the bare minimum, the character must have decaying flesh to be considered a zombie. An appetite for the living is also ideal too, but it's not a hard and fast rule, and it doesn't apply to all the characters in this countdown. This is why Clockwork from Sly Cooper isn't on this list. Sure, he kept himself alive by replacing his body parts with machinery, but we never see any decaying flesh at any point, and his body only rusts after falling in lava. As much as I would have loved to include him, it's also why Brian Fury from Tekken is unable to join the fight, as his flesh doesn't seem like it's rotting anytime soon. Sorry Brian. These two examples are overall more cyborgs than zombies per se. As for the stage, this time it's only appropriate if we give an expansive arena to all our favourite zombies, so the stage will be the entirety of Richmond Park. Don't worry, everyone will be evacuated before the battle. One zombie per franchise just because it makes everything more simple and less complicated, because we do not, and I repeat, do not want a zombie outbreak. For mindless zombies often appearing in hordes, we will only get one sample of each of these type of zombies. No outside help. And finally, this list is not based on my personal opinion, but rather an estimate of how powerful each of these zombies are and which one would win in a hypothetical arena battle situation. I might miss out on some facts, and in case that happens, apologies in advance. Alright, that's the boring stuff out of the way. We have 23 different zombies joining the battle, so grab a drink and a snack to sink your teeth into, because the Zombie Zeitgeist starts now. In the world of the only anime I've ever watched in full, bringing back the dead via alchemy is considered taboo, and thank goodness, because the human transmutation mutations can't put up a fight at all. Are they utterly horrifying?
Mom, please!
Dear God, yes. But they only have about 40 seconds before dying again. They cannot stand up, they cannot move, they just lie on the ground and breathe hoarsely. Thank goodness we have no zombie magicians on this list, otherwise just bringing one of these abominations will cause more damage than necessary. The next entry kind of counts as a zombie due to the undead nature of their designs. The zombie researchers from Metroid Fusion are humans possessed by the dreaded X-Parasite, assimilating a human host for either gaining knowledge or sustenance, the last part basically meaning flesh-eating. Though at least they could do basic movement, they barely constitute as a threat. They can do a short ram charge, and that is it. One blow would expel the X-Parasite within, leaving the rest of the host as an inanimate puddle. Even for one of our weaker entrants, that's pretty grim. The Zombons from Kirby Mass Attack are the smallest entrant on this list, and regrettably, they also have a small chance at winning the battle. They do have a ranged attack, being able to spit red gunk projectiles, but that positive is immediately rectified since all it does is zombify Kirby clones, and all you need to do to break the curse is to hit the infected Kirby. That's kind of stupid. Imagine, hypothetically, you are walking with one of your friends, one of these critters come up to spit on your friend, they become a zombie, and then all you have to do is to gloriously slap them and they turn back to normal. That's just how useless this zombie is. Add the fact that few Kirby's are required to beat them, and you have a zombie that is less effective than a stinging nettle. Contrary to popular belief, there are plenty of zombies from fictional media who, despite being undead, still have plenty of sentience, and Judge Hopkins from Paranorman is one of those examples. Spoiler alert to one of the best zombie movies, by the way. After being killed by Agatha Pentecost for sentencing her to death for witchcraft, he struggled with the curse for 300 years, suffering with remorse for his decision, only being able to communicate to those who can speak to the dead, like Norman.
We thought we knew our way in life, but in death, we are lost.
Former life as a judge aside, he poses very little danger. That's the problem. His right arm can spy on others, and he has some Olympic gymnast skills, though I'm not sure that last one is canon. Judge Hopkins is a great character, just not a great combatant. Due to Minecraft's iconic status, for better or worse, I felt naturally inclined to include the zombies on this list. At first they seem like the most vanilla of zombies, only walking towards the player and hitting them. But, like their skeletal comrades, they burn up in sunlight, it burns! Making them a potential last place victim. Fortunately, I can confirm that Richmond Park does indeed have trees, so at least they'll have some shades to roam. Another thing to note is that if they fall into a pond, they could turn into a drowned and lose their inconvenient weakness of sunburn and might have a minor chance to get a trident. Even with that slight advantage of turning into a superior form, it'll only put them on the same level playing field as our next entrance. The walkers from The Walking Dead and the zombies from Call of Duty are the most basic and vanilla zombies on this list, thanks to the Minecraft zombies' flammable skin problem. They are both slow, they can infect other human beings, and the best way to kill them is to be shot in the head. They lack sentience, and therefore aren't strategically minded, but their basic abilities of biting into other people's flesh make them the first zombies on this list to be at least a decent threat. Looking like Scissorman's half-cousin aside, Monster 4, aka the Hanging Man from the cult classic online game Spooky's Jumpscare Mansion, has some limited teleportation abilities, allowing him to teleport in short distances while also appearing in front of a player when entering a new room. He has a claw attack which can do some substantial damage, but aside from these unusual quirks, he is just another regular zombie, and the HD renovation updates honestly handicaps the efficiency of his abilities, as he can now no longer fly over gaps and acid pits. Nice try, Monster 4, but you're better off terrorizing the Karamari Hospital. I was really tempted to include Shut up! Skylanders doesn't have a lot to offer in terms of zombies, so the only option I had here were the Rotting Robbies. It was either them or the Trog Wanderers, who are suddenly more unique, but Trogs are technically their own species in the Skylanders universe, hence their exclusion from the battle. Rotting Robbies can't be taken down by conventional means, only being weak to fire-based attacks and cannon blasts, and they move as slow as any zombie, and they still lose a limb when bombarded with regular attacks despite being invulnerable. I don't know a whole lot about Zelda, but I know well enough to know that the Re-Deads are the trademark zombie enemy of the series. Per recommendation, Sentai told me to look at the Wind Waker version, and I don't think he chose wrong. They share the same abilities as the regular incarnations, screaming to stun Link and then grabbing him. Wind Waker Re-Deads however take this ability one step further by continuously biting Link until all his health is drained. Like the Minecraft zombie, they are more dangerous in the shadows as they have a weakness to light, but instead of burning them alive, it only stuns them instead. They can also be attacked from behind and can be killed easily with light arrows. While they are more of a threat than the Minecraft zombie, the fact that they need an opponent right in front of them to do damage can only get them so far. Though mostly just zombies retaining the police outfits of their previous lives, the cop zombies are the first zombies on this list to have an effective ranged weapon: guns. They are able to aim and fire either pistols or shotguns with relative ease to make up for their generally slow walking pace. Without it though, they retain the standard ability of any old regular zombie, depriving them of a higher ranking. Now we come to the best of the cannon fodder enemies, Crimson Heads. Being the franchise that fully kicked off the survival horror genre of gaming, of course I had to include a Resident Evil zombie somewhere. Crimson Heads are a mutation of a zombie, caused by an increased rate of pumping blood, causing them to develop enhanced speed and aggression, and as a result, are more violent and relentless than that of a typical zombie, even killing other zombies just to easily pursue a target. A lack of conscience means they're obviously not strategic, but still, for an altered version of a regular zombie, their general tenacity is pretty impressive. Oh yeah, it's Seddon time. For this video, I literally forced myself to watch the first Zombies movie, and you know what? It's not bad. At least it's probably better than the sequels, and its recent animated series that looks like if it was animated on Plotagon. Zed is literally the most sentient zombie on this list, no kidding here. Thanks to a Z-band sending electromagnetic pulses to the brain preventing him from having an appetite for a living, he is honestly just a normal teenager with green hair. So, pray tell, why is he this far on the list? If his Z-band is hacked, he gains extra strength and speed. However, this involves Eliza's technical expertise, and this breaks two of our rules, so she would have to pre-hack it before the match. It also makes his Z-band corruptible, and therefore he could sometimes turn into your usual zombie. Oh yeah, and one last thing of note, Zed has got swanky dance moves. Hell yeah! Beyond all of that, Zed doesn't have too much to offer, and he is just a friendly jock, all things considered. Speaking of high schooler zombies, Gulia Yelps may only communicate in groans, but fortunately she is only slow in terms of movement speed, as she is one of the most intelligent zombies on this list. Zombies can be intelligent. Who knew? There's a mini-shirt that showed that without Gulia, most of the school's problems wouldn't be solved. She also managed to take down an entire team in dodgeball using mathematics rather than brute force. Gulia might not have any combat experience, the closest thing she has to a weapon is a banshee scream that shatters glass, but she would admittedly be a good survivalist in the arena. She managed to convince her zombie acquaintances to surround Torelei for stealing her bike, so it's not odd to assume that she can take advantage of some of the abilities of some of the characters below or above her on the list. The main problem is that she has little to offer herself on her own when put in a free-for-all arena battle, but she is at least one zombie certainly not to be underestimated. Emily from Tim Burton's Corpse Bride at first may seem similar to Judge Hopkins with how she is a zombie only able to pass away after her debts are settled, with Emily's case finding out the person who murdered her, which, spoilers for another great zombie film, turns out to be Lord Barkis. Like Hopkins, she doesn't display any combat skills, though she successfully threatened Lord Barkis to leave the church using his own sword which she pulled out of her chest after being stabbed, so she definitely has pain immunity.
Get out.
But an important reason why she is far above Judge Hopkins is because she can teleport via the use of crows, and she has ghost intangibility powers. Good thing I'm talking about zombies rather than ghosts this time around, as visibility makes Emily stand out in a list like this, granting her way more utility for survival. Regrettably, Emily is more of a musician than a fighter, so sadly I can't in good conscience put her any higher. Cardinal Syn is a poor man's Soul Calibur, and that's all you really need to know. Wait, hold on. It has a skeleton warrior with a dragon's head named Stygian? That's awesome! Why didn't I include him in Skeleton Showdown? I'm not gonna make the same mistake as last time, so I introduce you to the most obscure character on this list, Plague. Plague was a corpse that was brought back to life by the clan of the wretched with a process called cell rejuvenation. This sounds like gobbledygook, but it's just what the manual says. At first glance, you might wonder why I didn't put this guy along with the disposable zombie minions of a previous category. In defiance of his quasi-comatose state, again, not me, it's the manual, he's a surprisingly swift and deadly warrior. He uses a club, which is a far more ranged melee weapon than simply using claws. He can defend himself with a pincer-like shield, and he can spit acid vomit, which only stuns an opponent. But still, heavily useful for an arena battle situation, and Plague has some experience considering he took part in Syn's tournament, and zombies act like bodyguards for the clan of the wretched. Plague might still be a mindless zombie, but at least we finally have a zombie genuinely versed in combat, a fighter through and through. Transformers, unnatural horrors in disguise. Oh. While lacking flesh like the rest of our entrants thus far, Dead End from the non-canon Titans comic tie-in series to the Bayverse still counts, as his armor, which would be equivalent to his skin, are continuously eating away, and he consumed Wheelie and attempted to eat Sam Witwicky, hence his inclusion. Dead End has the advantage of being a transformer, so he is large in size and he can transform into a car if he needs to get away. Being a part of the Decepticon army, he has shown to be a capable, if deranged fighter. He took on 3 Autobot rookies, nearly managing to win the whole ordeal, even ripping off one of Dune Runner and Joel's arms, and he tracked Bumblebee down and nearly won against that fight too. Dead End can certainly hold his own, but he has a super glaring weakness that prevents him from advancing to a higher part of the list. You see, Dead End was part of a regenerative circuit experiment, which backfired and instead started to eat away his armor, driving him insane to the point where he constantly needs spare parts. For instance, when he punched Rollbar, he punched him so hard that his arm crumbled to pieces. So overall, Dead End is super lacking in the defense department. If he isn't killed by some of the more heavier hitters on this list, then his decaying parts certainly will. If there aren't enough spare parts around, Dead End would therefore be fully eaten alive by the defective regeneration circuit. I almost feel bad for the guy just thinking about it. The Last of Us has a genuinely unique take on zombies, being people infected by the infamous Cordyceps fungi. I've seen that One Planet Earth episode with the ants, alright? Thank goodness it mainly works on various species of insects at the moment, because taking that concept and putting it on humans makes it all the more terrifying. Rat King is no exception. It is a superorganism comprising of some of the first people infected by the Cordyceps fungi in Seattle, and after 25 years, it has developed into the state fusing stalkers, clickers, and a bloater. It can smash walls with ease, displaying its undeniable strength, and it can emit mycotoxins too. While it can manage some damage more than the usual infected, after a while a stalker splits from the rest of the Rat King, either running away or assisting it by throwing spare bombs from a distance, giving it an extra fighting chance. While the Rat King is tough, he still isn't immune all around. Enough gunfire, flames, and bombs are enough to kill both forms despite its ability to charge for any attack, but it's the strongest known infected, and it more than earns this spot.
Karl Ruprecht Cronin, Hitler's top assassin and head of the Thule Occult Society.
If this battle was solely dictated by survival, the fan-favorite movie incarnation of Karl Ruprecht Cronin from Hellboy would definitely ace this competition, and maybe even come out victorious. He kept himself alive with clockwork technology for many years, mitigating his use for his organs and bloodstreams, which has since turned to dust, making him immune to gunfire. He even, mysteriously so, survived being impaled by a machine part of a dimensional portal, and his masks are designed to keep bacteria and other microbes away from the exposed tissues of his face, therefore enhancing his durability as a fighter. He successfully managed to infiltrate a museum by simply crawling on the wall silently. With how many trees there are in Richmond Park, visibility would definitely come in handy. Even with his seemingly outdated clockwork mechanisms, he is a ferocious combatant. He took out many soldiers in point-blank range, and killed a few more with some wrist-mounted blades. He can also wind himself up with a knob on his chest, so that he becomes faster in his movements, enabling him to deflect bullets and rapidly stab someone with his tonfa blades. If he so wants, he could even briefly power himself off for a short period of time, which allowed him to easily assassinate Professor Broom from the inside of a BPRD. Carl has made some pretty darn good feats for a zombie of his caliber. He opens this category because of his durability and combat skills, but why he pales in comparison to the last few entrants we need to discuss. His mask could be seriously damaged if he's punched in the face repeatedly, and since he got trapped under a giant cog in a spike pit before the final battle against Orku Jahad, we don't know how Carl would have fared against an opponent much larger than him. Still, this sadomasochist assassin deserves to kick off the top 5 due to his important role assisting Rasputin in nearly bringing about the apocalypse. But no one fits the bill for someone keen on world's domination more than Dr. Edgar Zomboss from the famous Plants vs. Zombies franchise. Dr. Zomboss is the main antagonist of this franchise, organizing zombie attacks to harvest brains while fending off his mortal enemy: stationary projectile spewing plants. His Zombot mech from the first game can spew a giant fireball and a giant ice ball. While this is more specialized for dealing with plants, the size of them are still huge enough to either engulf a contestant in flames or trap them in a continuously rolling snowball. Zomboss suffers a bit from a no outside help rule, so he cannot use his zombie bungee cord crew. Fortunately, the DS exclusive air raid mode comes to further elevate his position, as his mech can fire lasers and summon electricity orbs, making him a worthy foe in both land and sky. Zomboss is one of the most smartest zombies on this countdown, rivaled only by Gulia Yelps, but without his Zombot putting the legwork for his attacks, Zomboss is useless in a fight unless he acts as a strategist for a group, and other characters have way more insane powers that don't require an external machine to have an advantage.
So, to sum up, I'm a genius, all the brains will soon belong to me. Feel free to cast models of me now for the statues that will undoubtedly be erected in the future.
Not to be confused with the English dubstep artist, Zomboy is an A-rank fire tribute yokai of the eerie tribe from the Yokai Watch series. Yokai. Zomboy is a part human, part zombie. He used to serve Nianses II before he died, reappearing as a yokai in the cemetery in order to get his lost memories. When he isn't a guinea pig for Francesca Stein, he is a powerful yokai. To a single enemy, he can do a lightning slash, summon a firewall, and zombify an opponent by reducing their defense. A power most certainly useful for some of the tougher customers here today. In range, he can also attack multiple enemies with his sword. He can also withstand traps as, and to quote his common phrase,
問題ない。俺はすでに死んでい
For all his immense power, with a right yokai, he can still be taken out somewhat easily, and of course being a fire tribute yokai, he is weak to water. But let's face it, most zombies on this list aren't as magically empowered as a yokai, making Zomboy an elemental standout of a zombie, earning the bronze medal with ease. But by contrast, someone who seemingly took multiple efforts to defeat was Ors from Dear God, Why No? Here we go. Ors, the continent puller, is an ancient giant revived by Gecko Moira and the Thriller Bark pirates to be part of the zombie army. Because of his size and strength, he is the only zombie in that army to be classified as a special zombie, and he's definitely proven that title. Even with his stature, he has fast speed and reflexes. He managed to escape from chains by simply standing up, moved the rudder of the Thriller Bark ship all by himself, and defeated the general zombies with a single punch. He can't feel pain, and it took many concentrated attacks from the straw pirates just to disconnect his arm. As he has Luffy's shadow within him, he is able to perform his attacks, like Gomu Gomu no Pistol, Gomu Gomu no Kane, Gomu Gomu. Seriously, the series and its weird attack names. First Yomi Yomi no Mi, and now this. The point is, he has a good majority of Luffy's powers, although some of its utility is limited as he doesn't have Gecko to enhance his powers, and he is susceptible to lightning and blunt force attacks, which Luffy could usually withstand just fine. His inability to feel pain is also a problem, as he wouldn't know which part of his body is damaged. When faced with a shadow-infused Luffy, his bones and spine were broken by his rapid punches and was therefore rendered immobile. He also can't withstand extreme cold weather, which is the reason why he died in the first place. Ors is a powerful giant, but even his power has limits. Still, it took many attacks to bring this giant zombie down, which is a testament to Aura's skill as a near indestructible warrior. Well, we made it. The gold medal of the Zombie Zeitgeist. I'll happily admit that this last entrant is super left field and extremely odd. That's kind of a norm with contestants I choose for lists like these, but in an arena battle situation with a wide space available for any type of battle, Sentrak from LEGO Bionicle solos with a capital S. But beyond a hero, he does not look like a zombie. And true, Sentrak along with Deadhead stick out a little compared to the rest of our undead roster at first. However, like Deadend, Sentrak is a biomechanical being, so by technicality, he has flesh. Second, his backstory justifies his inclusion on this list. Sentrak was experimented on by his leader, the Shadowed One, in a bid to make more subordinate Dark Hunters for his organization. It was successful, even granting him new powers, which I will discuss later, but the side effects were that now he was living in a confusing state between life and death, and the process wiped off his memory completely, so the Shadowed One had to reteach him everything he knew, which is why he never conducted that same experiment again. Smart decision for him, as he ended up with his most loyal Dark Hunter. Out of any zombie on this list, he has the most variety in his range of powers. He is capable of cloaking inside an impenetrable sphere or cloud of darkness, and any attempt to pierce it would blind the opponent. He also has a transmutation ability, and thankfully, it's not that kind of transmutation this time around. This power allows him to send a stream of energy to a target to transform them into a solid rock version of a substance called protodermis. It spreads slowly on an organic being like Toa Vakama, who he nearly managed to kill, but to less dense materials like flames, the stream will transmute it instantly. He also can wipe the minds of his victims and can cast illusions without a Konohi Mahiki. Probably the most dangerous weapon in his arsenal is his Rotuka spinner launcher. If a Rotuka comes into contact with anyone, it could temporarily dematerialize them. Sentrak is a silent and efficient hunter, managing to track down Vakama, and he punishes and sometimes kills Dark Hunters who fail in their missions, leading to a rumor that the land of Edina were haunted by their spirits. Keep in mind, some of the Dark Hunters canonically have a multitude of different lethal powers, like Mimicry, Paralyzing Venom, and Lightning powered up by 4 Kanoka discs that can instantly kill a biomechanical being beyond repair. So Sentrak would absolutely be used to dealing with adversaries with weird and wacky abilities. Sentrak's only notable main role, however, was the book Time Trap, so placing him first, especially with Ors around, is certainly a controversial choice. But when put up against mostly mindless and slow zombies who can only do melee attacks, and the more skilled fighters on this list having numerous weaknesses that can be exploited, in my personal opinion it becomes a bit obvious that Sentrak, armed with his dark powers, is the most powerful zombie even without the Shadowed One's lead. Therefore, I declare Sentrak the winner of the Zombie Zeitgeist. I will admit, I might have gained a new respect for zombies after doing research for this video. I thought this list would be more predictable of how zombies are stereotypically portrayed as sluggish creatures with an appetite for brains, only effective in huge numbers, but damn, I stand corrected. There are way more unique and creative zombies than I thought there ever were in fictional media, and overall I enjoyed making this video, even if I had to justify why a passive intelligent zombie would beat an aggressive mindless zombie, or why a big zombie giant with devil fruits techniques would lose to a bionicle. But hey, that's just all part of the fun. I want to now give some special thanks to my friends who have helped me enormously with this video. First order of business, Toy Jam and Hero suggested that I should include Dr. Zomboss for this countdown, and it would have been a massive mistake not including a Plants vs. Zombies character, and Zomboss was the perfect representative. Shoutout also goes to Durda Stuff as he drew Plague exclusively for the thumbnail for this video. Yup, Plague is so obscure that I couldn't even find a transparent image of him on the internet. Shocking. Durr did an incredible job bringing this peg-legged skeezer to life. I want to say to you, Durr, thanks for not only making this awesome piece of art, but for also being such a fun person to work with in general this year, and I can't wait to see what we do together next. And finally, this particular fellow has enormously helped me out with this video, and without him, I can tell you the roster would have been far less diverse without his contribution. It's the swag master himself, Simtide. Not only did he come up with the name of a video last year, but was also kind enough to recommend zombie characters he knew about. Simtide, thank you, man. I always appreciate your enthusiasm for my silly little projects. Absolutely make sure to check them out, and as for those who like my Skylanders content, well, Simtide and Durr has a series called Epic Rap Battles of Skylands, and they recently dropped the first episode of Season 2 with a rematch of Chop Chop vs Drill Sergeant. All my fellow Drill Sergeant fans, we will hopefully beat Chop Chop this time. Who's with me? Sadly, this video is about to draw to a close, but which zombie character do you think would be more powerful than Sentrak? I'm open to any opinions. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you all in the next video.